All right, well, this is Anthony, and I will be doing Lab 2, Open SSL and PKI Lab. And I will be walking through how I set up this project and completed it. So, starting off, just going through the lab overview and reviewing some of the packages we need to install. So, first, I've already set up my console 1 uh, to check it out. So, the first thing I want to do though is make sure that I have internet access because I need to install these packages. This one and Open SSH client, Open SSH server. Um, so in order to do that, at first I just tried doing the simple login as root. And then installing the package. Already have that one installed. I'll go ahead and already installed Open SSH client. It's already installed. And make sure I have server installed on this machine as well. So I already have the highest number of versions. One thing I did have to do to make sure that I can actually make it work is I did connect to the internet, but I'm not sure if you need to do that. So first I'll run through it, and if I can't connect to the internet, then or connect to the web server side, then I will branch out to the internet, but I don't think it's necessary. So the first thing, I went ahead and just checked for task 1 and determine the version, uh, the subcommands, see the ciphers that are available, and then you can see the speed commands as well. So I'll go ahead and run through that with you. So first, just check my version. I use open. Oh, sorry. That was checking my version. I was getting additional information. This is checking my version. See, I'm running this version right here. I already showed you this command, but to get more additional information on the Open SSL, as you can see here. Perfect. And now I will check the ciphers that are available using this command. And it displays a list. Now, to benchmark my speed, I'll just go ahead and use the following command here in my VM1. So right now it's running through MD4s, 3 seconds, 16 byte block sizes, and then just printing out times and how many it's done. All right, so I'm not going to run through this whole thing with you guys. I'll just go ahead and end it. But as you can see, I printed out some of the speeds for MD4s, MD5s, and HMAX for MD5s as well. How many that were processed and the amount of time that you can see from this Open SSL command. Setting up the certificate, I already did a lot of this stuff already, but I will run through some of the configuration setups that I did do for this system. First off, I did create a directory called lab02. So as you can see, lab02 is here. And I have all these files. And this part of the setup, I needed to check this file, which I can go ahead and show you, which was So what I ended up doing is taking this file, copying it to my lab02 directory, and then making some modifications as was specified in the instructions. So what I ended up doing, I went down here. Mouse is a little buggy. Made sure I put it into the right directory, and then I created these directories as well, and these texts and these files. So for the serial, I basically did what it said. It wanted me to create the serial file that had the number 1000 in it, so I can go 1000 is printed in this file. It also wanted me to make an index.txt, which is right here. And then I proceeded to create setting up a root CA using OpenSSL. I did use this command, and I'll go ahead and type that in for you. So enter passphrase. Following through this process is going to ask me to enter a passphrase and some other information with my certificate or my root CA, which I did. I'm not going to actually go through that process. I will just show you what that is. So I will back out of that. Oops. Never mind. Maybe I can't back out of it. So I guess I will walk you through this process. So now that's done. I was setting up the root CA using OpenSSL command. See if it made any changes. So that's done. So now I'll move on to issuing certificates in task 3. I want to make sure that I use a common name, which is sap4812server.com. The first thing I need to do is generate public and private pairs for this client. I did that by running this command on this VM. You will be asked to provide a password. And permanent password you need to, and I need to remember this password because I will need it later. As you can see, server.key already exists, and I did that by running this command here. I also went over here to generate a certificate signing request by running these commands: OpenSSL rec -new key, and by putting this information in here as well. And this is very important. After I did all of that, I generated a certificate using this command, and I will show you. I will show you that I follow these processes by displaying my certificate. So as you can see, this is from ticket that I created. And this information, U.S., Arizona, Phoenix, team issue. This is from a previous certificate that I created. That wasn't the same one that I did earlier, but I did follow the same process. And as you can see, it's all here. I did have to go through here and do policy equals policy matching in order to get rid of an error, and making sure that in my config openssl.config CNF file, I did have the root.lab too, and I showed you that earlier when I was working with this file. So, task 4, using PKI and certificate for securing a website. What I ended up doing is making sure that I had this entry in this folder. So let's make sure it's in there. As you can see, I have 127.0.0.1 with SAT server 4812 server.com, which worked out. Now, in this next part, I need to combine the secret key and the certificate into one file. I already did that once, and I will just go ahead and show you that process and to make sure that information is in there. So I will check this file right here, server.pim, which is so this is the content of putting the server key in this file with the certificate. I can go ahead and show you what the server key is. It's this part, and then server cert, and basically I just combined the server key and the server cert, appended it and put it into the same server.pim file. So now what I'll end up doing is launching the web server using this command. I did ask for a passphrase. When I was setting up this server, I already went through that process. So now I should be able to log on to the website or the server. And this is where I'm going to find out if I actually need access to the internet or not. So go ahead and type this in. So I don't need to have access to the internet. But since I already went through this process once before showing you this, you're not actually going to get this screen at first. You're going to get a screen similar to this one, which is basically stating that your certificate is untrusted because we're signing our own certificate, whereas Firefox goes through a different certificate authority that is trusted. And so I did have to go through this process of finding the certificate that I did create. So what I ended up doing is, let me get out of that. So I have this certificate here, ca.cert. Now earlier, you probably saw that I had that ca.cert in this file here. I ended up moving it into a place where I could find it easily, which is here is where I put it. So I'll just go ahead and show you that. ca.cert's in here. When you're trying to add a certificate to the Firefox browser, it's pretty straightforward. Go File, Preferences, Advanced Certificates. You want to view your certificates. You want to import. Now, this is the part that was a little tricky. I couldn't get into the root folder from where the original ca.cert file was. That's why I moved it out into this directory where I could actually find it, where I went to the file system. That file that I was pointing to when I was using terminal cert, and there's ca.cert, certificate files. I ended up adding that and trusting it for web access. And that was that part of the lab. So after all that was completed, something like this should pop up where it's just giving you all the information about the certificate that you just created. Now, moving forward with this lab, it wanted me to test it on a different machine, so the Kali VM. So let's see what we're working with. So there's nothing here. Basically, I went through the same process of installing these files. Open an SSH client, opens the SSH server. So just to make sure that process is working. Perfect. That's working. Perfect. So everything's in here as it should be. Now I just need to make sure that I can access the server, the web server, which I will do this here, making sure that this is actually communicating. And I will show you after I get the server up and running, and I'll continue in a second. Okay, so for the second part of this lab, I need to connect to this Kali VM. I need to be able to access the web servers from VM1 from this local. So what I ended up having to do is first I wanted to make sure that both of these had access to the internet, so I had to check the etc./resolve.config. Added name server 8.8.8.8 in that file, and I can just quickly show you that. Oops. Right here. So just went ahead, checked this file, made sure that I had access to the internet. Then I went over here. I wanted to start the server. Now it's started on the Kali VM machine. After I made sure I had all the SSL apps installed onto this machine, I wanted to make sure that this one had access to the internet. So I went ahead and did the same thing. 8.8.8.8. Also went ahead to host because I needed to add the IP address of VM1 to it with this with the name of sat4812server.com. And after doing that, I was able to connect. So I'll just go ahead and walk you through that. Open this up. So if you're doing this for the first time, you're going to get something similar to this. Now, this is telling me that this server isn't trusted, with the same reasoning why I wasn't entrusted on the previous VM. This would have popped up, but I already went through the process of adding the certificate to this folder or to the browser so that I'm allowed to access the server. Similar process here. I ended up moving the certificate, the ca.certs from this VM to this VM. And then I went ahead and added that certificate, so I'll go ahead and walk you through that process. Preferences, advanced, certificates, view my certificates, import. You can see the ca.cert right here. Just go ahead and say trust the ca to identify websites. Hit OK. OK. Close it. Now I should be able to access it. Which, as you can see, I was able to access the web server from the Kali VM machine and get the information that I need here. So that completes the basic part of task 4. And then I went ahead and checked another part of this process, which was using these 4 different URLs to get access. So I'll go ahead and show you that. So using this first one, as you can see, you cannot connect to server. I believe it's because we're not specifying port 443, so it doesn't know exactly where it's trying to communicate to. As I try it again with the second one, it gives me another certificate issue saying that it is able to identify, but it's not able to proceed. Similar to what we were getting with the first way I tried doing it with the SAT 4812server.com when I specified the port. Now try and get another way. Same issue. I should be able to technically get to the certificate, but seeing how it's throwing me this issue again, it's just a matter of adding the certificate, and it's not trusted because I'm signing my own certificates. And the last one, the IP address of the server. This is the IP address of the actual VM1. See, it's not able to actually find it, so I'll put the server IP address in there as well. And it doesn't work for those. So that wraps up my task 4, which I basically showed how to access the server from VM1, adding the certificate to Firefox, and getting actual access to it. I did the same thing on the Kali VM as well, where I just added the certificate to the virtual machine, and then I proceeded to follow the same steps as I did with VM1 to get access. This last part is about performance, RSA and AS. So I'll just go in here, stop the server from running, and I'll run these commands for you. So basically what this is giving us is the different speeds and how many it can do with these different bit links, 512, 124, 2048, and 4096. And basically it's going to tell you how many times it can do this many bits, and this how much time it took to do it. And so it's going to keep going through until it runs through its process. So now that the RSA speed test is completed, it gives us the different size in bits, 512, 120, 1024, 2048, and 4096. It assigns in 65 seconds, or 0.000065 seconds, and verifies in 0.000005 seconds. And this is the many signs per second it does, and the number of verifies per second, based on the amount of bits that we're working with. I would do the same thing with AES. Oop. So this is basically giving us the key length, 128, and with varying block sizes, giving how many are processed and how much time it took to process those, based on the block size and the key size. So now that this is finished, it's basically telling what the key size and the block sizes and how many bytes were processed, um, based on the key size and the block size. So this wraps up my lab 2 for OpenSSL and PKI lab. Thank you.